The air in the courtroom was thick with tension. It felt like the whole world had stopped breathing. People sat on the edges of their seats, waiting for the final moment, the final words that would decide a man's fate. The judge cleared his throat and spoke the words everyone had been waiting for. "Darnell Coleman, you are hereby sentenced to death." A hush fell over the room. You could hear a pin drop. The families of the victims clutched each other's hands, some letting out quiet sobs, others staring blankly, waiting to feel the justice they had been promised. The prosecutors sat stiffly, their job done, their victory secured. The officers near the door adjusted their grips on their batons, ready in case things got out of hand. But the one person who should have been shaken, who should have reacted with fear or rage, didn't move. Darnell D. Coleman stood tall, his hands clasped in front of him, his dark eyes locked on the judge. No pleading. No anger. No tears. Then, something happened that no one expected. He smiled. A slow, knowing smile that spread across his face like he had been waiting for this very moment. Like he wasn't afraid at all. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Some people whispered, others just stared. Even the judge, a man who had sentenced dozens of criminals before, seemed momentarily thrown off. One of the prosecutors frowned, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. The lead detective who had spent years trying to put D behind bars tightened his jaw. This wasn't the reaction they had expected. D let the silence stretch before he finally spoke. His voice was deep but calm, steady as if he had already made peace with his fate. "You think this is a punishment," he said, his voice cutting through the courtroom like a knife. "I've been dead a long time." A shiver ran through the room. He turned his head slightly, his eyes scanning the crowd, the jury, the officers, the families, the people who had wanted this day so badly. "I was born into hell," he continued. "A hell none of y'all can even imagine. My mama was high when she gave birth to me. My daddy? Ain't never met him. I grew up hungry, cold, and angry. By the time I was 10, I had already seen more bodies drop than most soldiers in a war. By 15, I wasn't just watching. I was a part of it." His voice didn't shake, but there was something behind it, something raw, something real. "My choices led me here. I own that," he said. "I hurt people. I took lives. I destroyed families. And now, y'all get to do the same to me. That's justice, right?" He nodded slowly, as if answering his own question. The courtroom remained silent, but the energy in the air had shifted. People expected a monster, a soulless killer who would break down or fight against his fate. Instead, they saw something else, a man who had already accepted his death long before they ever sentenced him. A woman in the front row, a grieving mother who had lost her son to D's violence, suddenly stood up. Her face was red with emotion, her hands clenched into fists. "So that's it," she shouted, her voice trembling. "You just stand there like it don't matter? No apology? No guilt? You ruined lives. You ruined my life." Her voice cracked, and she broke into sobs. The pain in her voice was unbearable. Even the people who had come to see justice done, who wanted D gone, felt something shift inside them. D turned to her, and for the first time, his expression changed. Not fear. Not anger. Something deeper. Something even he couldn't quite put into words. "I regret everything," he said. His voice was softer now, but the weight of his words pressed down on the room. "I regret every mother that cried over her baby. Every kid that grew up without a daddy because of me. Every young brother that I led into the same life that got me standing here today." His eyes met hers, and for a brief second, the hate in her face wavered. "But regret don't change nothing," he admitted. "It don't bring nobody back. It don't undo what I done. I can say sorry a million times, but it won't fix the past." She wiped her tears, shaking her head, trying to hold on to her anger, but something about his words made it harder. One of the officers took a step forward, ready to take Dee away, but he wasn't done yet. He turned back to the whole room and spoke his final words. Y'all think killin' me makes things right? It don't. My death ain't gonna heal no wounds. It ain't gonna fix the broken homes or take away the pain. All it does is put an end to a story that was broken from the very start. He exhaled deeply, like he had been carrying this weight his entire life. But if this is what y'all need, he said, then go ahead. And then, right before the guards put the cuffs back on his wrists, he did something that shook everyone to their core. He closed his eyes, took a slow breath, and whispered 3 final words. I'm free now. The guards led him away, and for a long time, no one in that courtroom moved. The families who had come for closure, for justice, sat frozen in their seats. The detectives, the prosecutors, the jury, everyone felt something they hadn't expected to feel. Because in that moment, they realized the truth. They had sentenced a man to death. But he had already let go long before they did.
Hey everyone, if this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you why we need to keep having these conversations, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps spread awareness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something like this? Let's talk about it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here to share real, powerful stories that need to be heard. Lastly, share this with your friends and family. The more people who see this, the more we can bring awareness and change. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Let's keep pushing forward, together.